And welcome back to the Bridget Mabandla Justice College, day 72 of the Madlanga Commission. And it just gets more and more interesting all the time, because during phase 2, it's an opportunity for those who've been implicated to come and put forward their version of events here before the Commission. But of course, it does not go untested. And that is where the tar hits the road, so to speak. And I'm joined right now by Dr. Mxolisi Mathebula, independent policing and crime analyst. Dr. Mathebula, thanks so much for coming through. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Sagina, and morning to the viewers. Thanks for having me.
So today we're expecting the return of Major-General Shibiri. And firstly, what did you make of his testimony, especially with regard to the modus operandi of how the cartels or criminal elements, organized crime elements, tend to infiltrate the police?
His testimony on Wednesday did not inspire any confidence in me for a number of reasons. General Shibiri is supposed to be looking after things that has to do with organized crime. Now, we heard from his testimony that he is also part of the cartels. I think his proximity to General Shibiri made him to be closer to the cartels as well, because we heard from the testimony of General Shibiri and others that General Shibiri is close to Madlanga and others. And now we are seeing the very same person who is entrusted with the responsibility to fight crime in South Africa, is organized crime, which is the problem in South Africa, is very close to the same cartels, the KT Molefe, the Madlanga, and that shows us that we have a serious problem in the SAPS as far as senior officers are concerned, generals to be precise.
And of course, he was implicated quite early on in the proceedings of the Commission with regard to the Vereeniging case involving the murder of Armand Swart, where then Katiso KT Molefe was drawn into that, and his name came up bright and early.
I can't say I was surprised, but my surprise precisely is when a general is so interested in someone's case. Generals are operating at strategic level. A general has got nothing to do with the case docket, for instance. A general has no business calling a subordinate who's an investigating officer and ask about a certain case. In the SAPS, there's something called the channel of command. For instance, let's say the IIO investigating officer is a captain. Then there are certain ranks above the captain that the general would have contacted to say, I need information on this case. But again, why would a general be interested in a certain individual, and we know that person is of no good, KT Molefe? So that also leaves so many questions to be answered, but I think today some of these questions will be answered.
And of course, as a general in organized crime division, you would imagine that you would be au fait with who the actors are in the world of organized crime, and you would try to, at the very least, keep your distance from these protagonists, these actors. But seemingly, from what we've heard here at the Commission, that's not the case with many of the generals.
Indeed, there's a trend here where generals will just befriend everyone without even checking the background of these people. Now, it's surprising for General Shibiri to say he knew nothing about, for instance, KT or Madlanga, for instance, about his criminal activities. He knew after. So I don't think he was telling the truth to the nation. I think he knew who Madlanga is. That is why he was even able to confide with Madlanga about his personal problems as far as financial challenges are concerned. And it's also surprising that he said he just met Madlanga at the event or a function or a party at General Shibiri's house. And all of a sudden they're talking about borrowing each other money. And you think they were meeting for the first time.
But he did say he met him way back. And they were reacquainted, it seems, at this particular event.
But what he was trying to say to us was that they were not that close.
Yeah.
But for Madlanga to borrow General Shibiri such an amount of money, it leaves so much to be desired. There's so much that he did not tell us. As he was testifying, what he was saying orally and his body language were two different things. So I'm hoping that today they will press him further to give us the right answers, because he's been very economic with the truth. And in my view, he was trying very hard to protect General Shibiri, because in most cases, when they talk about General Shibiri, he'll try to paint a good picture about General Shibiri. Hence, we know exactly who General Shibiri is by now.
But if we look at this from a policing oversight perspective, because these are the generals, they sit at the top of the organogram in the South African police services. If this is what they are accused of, what does it say for oversight in the service as a whole?
I was quite impressed when General Shibiri outlined his role as a general, even mentioning monitoring and providing oversight. But now ask yourself, which oversight was he providing? Because instead of providing oversight, he was busy partying. Because he spoke a lot about that I don't know whether it's a spa where he would frequent
yes.
and his friends. So it looks like he's a person that likes nice life, but it looks like he can't really afford the nice life. That is why at some point he was in financial difficulties. Same as General Shibiri. He said it himself that at this juncture, he's in serious financial crisis. So for one, to put such people in oversight roles, to put such people in such positions, actually we're being compromised here.
So you're saying it makes them susceptible to the criminal element?
They're really vulnerable. The likes of Matala, the likes of Kechi Molefe, they know these people that they are struggling. So they'll capitalize on that to say, I need this, and if you give me this, I'll give you so much. And they will do it with ease.
But that is indicative of a broader problem, isn't it? In the sense that the remuneration of police officers is something that has been spoken about and something that has to be looked at seriously.
Sakina, I will agree if we're talking about constable or sergeants, but here we're talking about generals who are earning millions. Millions. Let us look at, for instance, the issue of Julius Mkhwanazi. He was offered around 1.5 million. For what? I don't know. But he said, no, it was not enough. And it was increased to 1.8 million. And a two-star general, a major general, is earning way above.
But isn't it, as you say, because seemingly from what we've heard, these are people who enjoy the good life.
Exactly, they enjoy the good life. For instance, a three-star general like General Shibiri, he has got everything that I would wish for as a police officer. He's got very good salary, bodyguards, and other packages as well to entertain himself as a three-star general. But you see, these people are very greedy. Very greedy. This is why they always want more. Actually, they can't maintain their own lifestyle using their own monies. So as a result, they become involved in such corrupt activities.
Let's go back to the lower ranking officials, because that issue of remuneration is a very serious one, I would imagine.
No, it is a very serious one, because the people who are doing the work, the spade work, who are at operational level or technical level, are not being remunerated accordingly because they work very hard. And the people who are at strategic level, they don't do much, because their job is to make sure that those that must do the spade work have the resources that they need to do their work, have the necessary skills, have the knowledge as well. So that is their job. That is why I'm saying a general has got nothing to do with a case docket, for instance, because their job is to think, be innovative, come up with new ideas to make the SAPS better and the work of those that are operating at station level much better. But they are not doing that. That is why those who are on the ground are struggling, hence generals are living lavishly.
So the cartels know this. They know that police officers are struggling, whether it is because they are not paid sufficiently or whether they are just not able to manage their finances like those at the top. But that being said, if the cartels know this, it means that you are exposing, of course, the police service to these vulnerabilities. I think it was witness B, it was witness A or B, I think it was witness B who testified to the fact that they were invited to a party at one of the cartel members' homes, and when they got there, they found General Shibiri already there. And seemingly surprised, that they were there, kind of thing. So, you look at these things. So if you can bribe the cops at the top, it's much easier to bribe the ones at the bottom. Worse, the evidence that was adduced that Shibiri himself had told witness A and B that there were 3 envelopes, one for the investigators, one for the prosecutor, and one for the magistrate.
Correct. Cartels are very smart because cartels are syndicates. And within their groups, they have those who just to do background check on Mathebula, for instance, to see, no, we want something from Mathebula. Just find out about his background, about his lifestyle, what does he like.
Where's the weakness?
Yes. Then once they find that weakness, they capitalize on it. So they found weaknesses on General Shibiri, on the likes of General Shibiri. That is why at some point I heard that during the testimony about, I think it was witness A, to say, General Shibiri at some point, he was bribed by Matlala, gave around something like 80,000.
Well, he denies that it was a bribe.
He will deny
He said it
everything.
was a loan.
They always deny. But their body language is telling us something else. General Shibiri, if you recall, when they asked him about 3 envelopes, his body language changed immediately. Then you could see that there is something that is hiding from us. There is something that he must tell us today. But by the time you leave here, we must have the answers. Did he receive the money or not? Because even the money...
Well, he received the money, or not him. His son received the money, according to his testimony.
You see, I still don't buy that story that much until I see proof that indeed his son received the money. And what was it for, actually?
To fix the car.
Because you look at the salary of a general, that I'm still saying it is huge. I don't think they should be struggling as they are struggling, or as they are being perceived as if they are struggling.
So, looking at today, and of course the cross-examination, and like you, I'm looking forward to it. But just in terms of the gaps that you think they're going to be looking to probe, obviously the money, the 70 or 80,000, whatever it is, that will be probed. And you would imagine things like that now famous party, the engagement party at Sibiya's house.
His proximity to Matlala will be one of the questions that you'll ask today. The money, as you said, it's one thing that they are going to ask and probe until they get the truth or until they are satisfied. The envelopes will also be part of the questions, because we want to know, did he receive the envelopes? And if they were there, what happened to the envelopes? Who took one? Who didn't take one? We want to know as well. So there's quite a lot that I'm looking forward today from his testimony, especially the Q&A part of things. That one is going to be very interesting, because I have trust in the commissioners. They know how to, squeeze milk out of the rock, and they will do it today.
And just the final one, Dr. Mathebula, just with regard to the general vulnerabilities within the SAPS service.
I think they are vulnerable, because if you look at the number of generals that are in the pocket of cartels, it's shocking. There are so many. I think the best thing that needs to happen after this commission is just to fire every general and promote people.
Fire all of them?
Fire, I think all of them. All of them, fire all of them. Just hire new members on merits. They must have merits. They must have the right qualification. Vetting should be done. Not this vetting that is done currently, because vetting has got some gaps as well. Vetting, they look at you, they look at your qualifications, they look at your bank statements, but they don't go deep to say, by the way, who is this person? Because what we see is not what the person is at his village, for instance. So they need to look at all those things. But currently I'm saying these generals must be fired.
It's going to be another interesting day. Thanks so much for that analysis, Dr. Mxolisi Mathebula, independent policing and crime analyst. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Morning Live, and when we come back, we'll be back with your news at the top of the hour.